Hello everybody, I'm going to try and create a tutorial on how to get started with Delver modding and create a little weapons mod. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to the workshop and find the example mod that Joshua and Chad, the creators of the game, already made. So you go here, you subscribe to it, it'll download, and then now you have to go find that so you can look at it. So the easiest way is go to Delver, properties, and then local files and browse, and then here you are in your Delver game file. Now while we're here, you should make your mods folder, which is where you're going to be putting all your mods to work on them and so the game can actually find them. I already have one, and also I recommend extracting the delvedit.jar, and it will give you this folder which has all of the assets, all of the files that you can potentially change for modding purposes, and it's a really good resource to reference if you mess something up or you need to look at something. So to get to the example mod, you're gonna have to go back to Steam Apps, then to the workshop, to the content, and then this number right here, this 249 number, is the Delver's ID for Steam, I guess. And there's more numbers for each mod that you have installed, and then this one is the example mod that I just downloaded. So I'm going to copy that and move it over to my mods folder, and I'll rename it so I know what's going on. Call it test mod. And then when you open it up, here are the files. So you have the sprite sheet, which has the artwork. This splash has, when you boot up the game, it'll show this instead of the default logo. It's good for knowing that your mod is actually loading up. And the data folder is where most of your code for anything you create will be. There's the sprite sheet and the items, but we'll get into that a little bit. I think the most important thing to get right away is the artwork, because then you can set up all the code pretty easily. This one already has a sprite sheet. I made some little doodles to also put in here, so I'll toss those in right now. And to edit these, you can use anything. You can use Photoshop, GIMP, anything. It doesn't really matter as long as it works. So I'll go over a couple of things at first. So this is the example spreadsheet that you'll have at first. And some important things are that Delver's sprite sheets in the vanilla game are each tile is 32 by 32. So this black square I'm pasting in is 32 by 32. And you can see that it fits into this little thing. Your sprite sheet, it doesn't have to be 32 by 32. It's just like it's what Delver uses. So people usually do 32 by 32 to fit the style. You can do 64 by 64. You can do some wacky numbers. It's up to you. But to fit the style, most people do 32 by 32. So here are these. Also, I'll mention right now, when we get into spreadsheets, it'll make more sense. But you'll designate a number to each texture so that the 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 game knows what you're talking about. And the first number is actually 0. A lot of people get confused at that at first. So it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, and then it goes to 4, 5, 6, and it just keeps counting like that, left to right and then down. But 0 is the first one, which is important to remember because you'll be all confused and not know what's going on. But for this little thing, I have 2 weapons. I'll show you how to set up both weapons, and that's that. So once you have your little artwork, I'm going to delete this because I'm not using it. You can go first set up your sprite sheet. I'm using Notepad++ to edit it because that's just what I'm using. You can use anything to edit text. It's not really that big of a deal. The columns, you can see there's only one column of textures there. The file name is example sheet.png. The scale, not that big of a deal, whatever it is. You can change it. You can change the scale and the Y offset individually for each item. So, I mean, if it's all messed up, you can figure it out. And the name is what you'll put into the sprite atlas so that it can find this sprite sheet. I'll just call it example sheet, and the Y offset doesn't really matter. So I can save that. Let's say maybe I have another sprite sheet, I'll just copy and paste that, put a little comma there, fill out the data with whatever I want. But I don't have that, so I'm deleting it. Okay, now that I have the sprite sheet, I can go to the items. And since I'm making a sword, it's pretty much already filled out for me. But I can go through and change what I have to, like the sprite atlas is what I just changed. I need that to be example sheet. The text is 0 because the sword is in the 0 slot. The held text and the inventory text, it's all the same. You could have it be whatever you want, but for me it's the same. And the name, I'll just call it test sword. And then all of these is pretty self-explanatory. You can read it, mess with the numbers, and figure out what you want. But for this right now, this will do fine. But I have a second weapon, so what I can do is just copy paste, oh, put a little comma there so the game doesn't break. And then here I am with this. I can fill out some stuff like test axe. It's the text 1. Change all those. You can change whatever. But it's an axe, and you can see right here I have like dagger attack for an axe. It's not really the vibe I'm looking for. So what I can do is reference the delve edit. I can go here, I can look at every single item in the game and see what they're using. Okay, so since I'm in here, let's say I have an axe. Oh my god, I don't know what's doing this. Alright, the Man's Mangler is it's a unique weapon in the game, and it has animations for it being an axe. So I'm just going to, I can just copy these and then paste them in here. Make sure they're not broken. And now they'll have the axe swinging animation, so it won't look as weird. Except, yeah, messed that up. So now I have two weapons. This thing right here, this number, is what level the item will show up at. I think it's your player level. Like if I'm player level 1, so these items will spawn when I'm player level 1. It'll also show up in the debug menu, which I'll go over in a couple seconds. So let's say I want these to be spawning level 3 under the melee category. I'll save that. And now I have to go back to my mod just to check on it. Test mod. Okay, everything's looking good. So I'll go to Delver. And then for the debug menu, which is how you're going to spawn in your item more easily, you go to your properties and then the launch options, you put debug equals true. Once all that's all good set up, launch Delver. We wait for it. You can see the splash image there, which is a good sign. You can check out the mods button, which you can make sure it's enabled. That's the workshop download of it. Test mod is what I changed it to. I'll just turn these other ones off. And then I'll start a new file just to test it out. So to access the debug menu, press K, and this shows up. So my things are in the melee. I think I put them in 3. Yeah, I have test sword and test axe. So I spawn that. There's my sword. And there's my axe. You can swing them around. I don't know. Test that out. Maybe you want more speed, more range. You can look at the damage. You can see that the animations I changed are different for the axe. You can see it's held differently and swings differently. Okay, so now that you know that your mod is working how you want it to be, you can quit out because presuming now that you want to upload your mod, you're gonna have to go back to the Delver directory and open up Delve Edit. And then once that's opened up, there's a little mods button up here. And you click upload mod to workshop, and then you have to pick your mod. So it's in the mods folder called test mod, and then you use that folder. Now I already have a preview image set up, which is what will show on the Steam Workshop page. So I'm just gonna pick that. You can always make it later. You can edit this. You can update the mod through here. It's all good. Title, cool example mod, then create mod. And that's that. Now, there's a little bit more work to do. First, you're gonna have to wait for it to upload to the workshop. You can go most recent, you can go to files you've posted. Here's mine. It'll take a while for it to show up publicly, but for it to even show up publicly, you have to change the visibility. The visibility by default is hidden, so you have to click public, and then everyone else can see it. Keep it hidden because it's not that cool. And once you put it to public, then you can share it, send the link. It'll show up on the workshop in a little bit whenever Steam decides to update your stuff. And that is that.